let's get straight to the point here. Let's be frank. I recently got fired for having a disability, and I want to talk about it not only to vent, but also because I want to relate it to my upcoming video about work under capitalism and the position of disabled people in a system that only values human beings if they're useful to the capitalist elite. It's incredibly depressing knowing that the world in which you find yourself is a cruel one, and that you aren't even able to operate within it at the same capacity or on the same level as other already struggling but abled people. I'm well aware at this point that I am the square peg in the round hole that is our society, and unless I'm extremely lucky, I will spend the next 40 years of my life, at the very least, probably closer to 50 the way things are going through the same bullshit cycle of starting work, fighting to keep my job against management who want to get rid of me because my disability makes me a less effective worker than many of my colleagues, leaving or being fired and then starting all over again. Every few months going on and on forever. Capitalism is fucking awful for able-bodied and neurotypical people, but holy shit, it is so much worse for the neurodiverse and disabled. Half the time you're treated like you're lazy, degenerate and worthless by society at large, reminded that you are not useful, that there is no place for you, and that your only choices in life are to suffer, struggle or die. And the other half you're patronised and held up as an example of our society's tolerant nature because you haven't been allowed to die in a ditch like you would have been a few hundred years ago, or the company's ability to cater to a diverse range of employees. Hey, look, this guy's in a wheelchair and we let him stick around. We're cool with him, right up until his disability starts to affect his productivity, in which case, fuck him, he's out. We'll have to find another one, but for now, look at all this great PR. Please buy our shit. In my experience, companies are unwilling to compromise in order to help the vulnerable, and as a result, you come to a kind of catch-22. If you're able to act abled passing in a job interview, you're significantly more likely to get the job, because despite their apparent acceptance of disabled employees, they don't want too many of them after all. But then you have to go through the whole rigmarole of informing HR of your disability, and then fighting for the adjustments to your workplace you require, which technically they legally have to provide, but it's usually easier just to fire you and replace you so that they don't have to. As I found out firsthand, after all, as far as they're concerned, you're a faulty cog amongst the sea of other worthless cogs. It's much less effort and significantly less money to just replace that broken cog than try to fix it, or to help it operate at peak capacity. Who gives a shit if that cog has a family, is an individual with thoughts, feelings and aspirations, or just requires a few adjustments in order to be just as functional as the other cogs? It's either broken or it can't be fucked trying, so let's chuck it out. Alright, that metaphor wasn't 100%. And if you don't have a good job, what's even the point of you leeching off the rest of society, displaying just how worthless you really are? We lack empathy as a society, and in general we have a warped sense of the world. We view disability through a purely individualist lens. Any failures a disabled person suffers are the fault of the disabled person, and if they can't adapt to fit within civilized society, maybe they should just fuck off and die, like the worthless, lazy, victim complex having scum that they are. Of course this isn't the case, but that's what individualism does. It unnecessarily individualizes problems. A better solution might be to view the issue of disability at work under a more collectivist light. A disabled person's struggle to get by in a job or fit into society or perform at peak capacity is not a failure of that specific person, but of society failing to accommodate its most vulnerable members. Likewise, when a person just can't take anymore, when they're sick of life beating them down, kicking them in the teeth and taking opportunities, self-worth and autonomy from them, and see no way out other than suicide, that is a terrible, tragic failure of a society. As I mentioned in the main video, there is no escape either. Time was, if you were disabled, you had support, financial help due to the fact that you can't work, and taxpayer-funded help with living your day-to-day life, allowing you to prosper and live in this hell world in a relative degree of comfort. But we can't have that now, can we? Empathy, in my capitalism, a welfare state, what is this, communist Russia? No, you fucking scum, you don't get help. We're cutting your support, declaring you fit for work, and if you don't work because you can't, we're cutting your benefits, and you can fucking starve and die. There, how's that for providing opportunities for vulnerable people? You have the choice to die slowly by starvation, become a massive financial burden on your family, or just end it all yourself. It's what you deserve. We condemn genocide. We condemn eugenics. We're horrified by the systematic murder of the vulnerable that happened under the Nazis and the disgusting ideas put forward in the bell curve. And yet we don't seem to care when Western governments make their disdain for the vulnerable extremely clear when they deliberately remove their access to essential services and literally push them towards suicide. This government has been directly responsible for the deaths of hundreds of thousands of vulnerable people, a massive chunk of which is made up of disabled people, at a time when what we need most is empathy. All we get is a load of eugenicsy, survival of the fittest bullshit. The leader of the free world can mock a disabled journalist at a rally to raucous laughter, and 650,000 disabled people can have their disability benefits cut, and no one seems to give a shit one way or the other. I don't know about you, but if a government deliberately enacted policies in order to harm and actively kill members of a vulnerable group they deem inferior or worthless, well, I think it's probably serious cause for concern. So where does this leave me? Well, mostly struggling to get by and pretty fucking poor. The longest I can ever hold down a job before the company gets sick of me and my disabilities, between 6 months and a year, and on this occasion it was 5 weeks. I can't tell you how depressing it is to be called into a meeting by a senior manager and be told, here's why it's not working out, and then to listen to them list symptoms of your disability. Taking extra breaks? I literally have to in order to function. Work is inaccurate and slow? No shit, I need adjustments to my workspace in order to produce accurate work, especially at any degree of efficiency. And what a coincidence, my dismissal just happened to be decided upon a couple of hours after I informed HR about my disability and offered to share a copy of my occupational health documentation. Just enough time to Google it and work out that keeping me on might cost them a tiny bit of money on shit like coloured screen covers. I'm sure it's just a coincidence though. It's illegal, of course, incredibly illegal, but can I afford a lawyer and all the massive time commitment a lengthy legal battle would involve? No. Can I prove beyond any doubt that I was let go because of my disability rather than whatever bullshit they say it was? Of course not. Can I keep doing it every few months when it happens again and again? Fuck that. Well, fuck me, I guess. I'm disabled. I'll go be homeless now. Honestly, I completely understand the shit that those people you read about in those horrible news stories go through. I'm never going to be financially stable, never going to be able to live a normal life, never going to be able to guarantee that I'll be able to pay my rent for longer than a few months at a time. Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I've been tempted to just give up, end it all, put myself out of my misery because I'm never going to be able to live a decent life in a society that treats me like a worthless burden, refuses to help me, and repeatedly votes people who actively want me to fucking die into power. Here's hoping 2020 will be a little easier, but 2014 through 2019 haven't exactly given me much hope that that might be the case, and we have another half decade or more of Tory rule to look forward to, so forgive me if I'm not overly optimistic.